I'll make a really good game from both aspects, so through all the aspects, the concentration, the set pieces, defensively, how aggressive we were in to create good environment. And after, from the beginning, we start really well. We read the game well. Our build-up was much better than Emirates. Like, we could not do it, and we make, considering the opponents that we face, a fantastic performance.
Well, I think we're in the end part of the season, so we know every game is a must win. If you lose today, you know it's very hard, and I think everybody was concentrated on the job that they had to do today, and I think yeah, we played really well.
You have to accept that the better team won the game. The way we started the game put the game in a really difficult position. We didn't do any of the basics right. We didn't compete in the right way. We didn't win enough duels. We had them in many situations in trouble. They got out of trouble with one pass and they were through. I think the disappointment comes when today we weren't at our level. Not their level, but our level.
They are 2 points in front of us, so we are still on the top of the tail. Of course, we are incredible victory. I would love to have these 2 in the hand, 6 points, and after be up front of him. The reality is they are, and we cannot lose our focus. And focus is tomorrow we good recovery, rest well, and prepare Fulham at early morning, because now we are there. It's definitely in our hands, and when it's in our hands, we have to use it.
It certainly is in their hands now. Manchester City beating Arsenal for the 12th consecutive game, and a resounding victory it was too. They were tremendous, weren't they? And not for the first time this season. Messrs De Bruyne and Haaland did most of the damage.
They were unplayable tonight. They bullied, particularly the 2 centre halves, Gabriel and Rob Holding. Every time the ball went up, their understanding and knowing where one's going to run and the other one bounces off. There's the long ball up. Haaland's too strong, but the understanding from De Bruyne to run and when to run, and the timing of it, and then of course the finish. As I said, the understanding that they have about each other's game, when to run, how to run. He's feeding off them there, and some of the play tonight, particularly in forward positions. I mean, Haaland got 1 goal. I mean, he maybe should have had 3 or 4 if his finishing was like it has been most of the season tonight. But I mean, yes, it's a good save, but again, they're running off each other, and they just couldn't cope with them tonight. As I said, they did bully them, and they were never that far away from each other. De Bruyne was always within 5 or 10 yards of him to get those little pieces off him there. Then the give and go. I mean, it was a magnificent performance from start to finish, I thought, from Manchester City. They totally dominated in every position. There he's unlucky again and putting it wide. You can see he's just stalking there, De Bruyne. Give, go. Then he's running in behind. And it's a wonderful finish through the legs. Keeper's got no chance. Those 2, as I said, were absolutely magnificent. You can see their understanding there of the partnership that they have.
Yeah. Best in their history already.
Yeah, in the Premier League, superb.
Still in April as well, of course. Thoughts are with you at this difficult time, Ian. First, thanks. I want to say that.
I was just pleased that I had you 2 there to support me.
Yeah, we're always there for each other. We know that.
Exactly.
As for Arsenal, well, they just couldn't get into the game, could they?
No, Man City wouldn't let us into the game. We've seen Arsenal start very well, breaking presses, but this press was just intense. It was just like Haaland's physical and aggressiveness in the press. You could see what they were trying to do. They're not giving Arsenal no opportunity to build up, get anything going. When you look at the way they position themselves, you look at how De Bruyne will go, and then he'll be looking around to see where he can cut that ball off. Look at him there, he's looking inside. He can't get it in there. And this is what they were doing. It was so well organised that there was no time to actually for someone to get their foot on the ball and look. By the time he's there, look, it's bam, out of play. They were too intense, and I think they kind of rattled Arsenal, I think, at the start in the way they came at them and the way they continued to go at them. And then you look again, Kevin De Bruyne there cutting out the pass to Zinchenko, and then they were away again. They put on a proper show, man.
Seven on the spin wins now for Manchester City, and
They look unstoppable.
Unbelievable.
We know football, things can change.
They're cruising into that place where they know this kind of like terrain.
There was a small moment you spotted. You had your striker's head on.
Yeah.
It was 0-0 at the time. Things could have been different. I suspect they probably wouldn't have been.
Well, what it's the only way you're going to get something off him. And you look where Jesus is here, and this is the only way Arsenal are going to get something, any kind of half chance. And they did finally break through at one stage, and then you look at that, and then you see that's where you want your striker, because you're not going to get too many opportunities where you're going to be able to break into City and do that. And that is why when you get the opportunity, that was 5 minutes in, you've got to try and take it to get them on the back foot.
We've got a little message from someone you know reasonably well.
See?
I mean, I think he played for Manchester City. Are you going to accept that, Ian? It's a bit naughty.
You okay, Dad?
You know, it's just, he's so annoying. Someone I talked to I taught him how to wee, this boy. Now look at him, look. He still can't reach the toilet now.
Oh, he's certainly taking the wee now. Anyway, is it all over? I suppose it's not obviously mathematical, but it's going to be really difficult, isn't it?
When you look at Arsenal's fixtures that they've got as well, I can't see a way back for them.
You're just looking at Newcastle away there, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yes.
It's tough. The reason is that when you look at the Liverpool, the West Ham, and the Southampton, you needed 6 points out of that at least. So as you can get into this game,
that's what did the damage.
That's what it is, and that's what they'll learn. We're talking about a team that they learned a lot from. For me, they put on a season this season where they learned a lot from last season. So onwards and upwards for that team, onwards and upwards.
Indeed.
Mikel, that's a bruising night. It's got to hurt. What was missing out there tonight?
Well, we were beaten by the better team, that's for sure. They were exceptional today, and when that's the case, it's extremely difficult to reach that level, and we were nowhere near enough our level, especially in the first half. And when you open that gap against them, you get punished.
Yeah, they set the standard, but did they change tactics a little bit? Did they catch you with the long ball tonight?
They've been doing that. They did in that previous game. When you have in one corner and they kick it 60 yards, they win that duel, they run through you. You have to start first of all competing and winning your duels, and all the very basic things today against this team. We didn't do them in the first half, and we were punished, and we could have been even more punished because a set piece we concede from our own throw, an open goal. Very difficult.
And they scored early. That knocks a bit of belief out of the players after 3 successive draws as well.
It does, but especially the way we were in the first 20-30 minutes. They were on top of us. We could not handle that situation. We not compete well enough in every duel, and it has to start like that. The game that we proposed, it was being extremely, extremely direct, and we knew that they have the capacity to do that because they can stretch you the pitch 60-70 yards with his goalkeeper. And first of all, you have to be in the right position, then you have to compete for that ball. And once we won it, we lost it straight away.
As you said before, this doesn't decide the title, but does it tip the balance now?
Well, today is a very difficult night, obviously, after the way we lost. But we have to stand up, look the bigger picture, and the fact that we are competing toe-to-toe with this team, it's incredible, to be fair. And we want to compete, and we're not going to give up. And it's 5 games to go in this league. Anything can happen. And I've seen a lot of things because I've been here more than 20 years. And you have to believe that tonight is difficult to do that. But we have to look in the mirror as well. We have to accept that we have lost against an exceptional team, and that's the level.
Well said. Thanks, Mikel.
Thank you.
A very difficult night, but there are, as he said, still games to be played. What effect do you think this is going to have on them going forward?
I think firstly it's a very honest appraisal, and I agree with him. I think they've come a long way from last season where they were to where they are now, so they've got to take huge credit individually but collectively also. But this is a big game. We all knew how big this game was and important it was for this season. And I think it's going to be the reaction. It's really important in these moments how you react as a team. Yes, you've got to dust yourself down individually, but you've got to come back into that training ground. And who are going to be the leaders in there? Who are going to get these guys up again to go again in the next game? They've got to finish the season strongly and bounce into next season. They can't afford to finish on a low and finish on a real low just because of this result or because they don't win the league. If they don't win the league, there's still a long way to go, but they have to react in the right way.
Do you feel tonight he got his tactics wrong, Martin?
Well, we talked, didn't we, about the manager had a dilemma before the game. He wanted to go and press from set pieces, particularly. We heard De Bruyne saying that they had a plan for that. I think as well we have to be careful we don't go over the top with the criticism because of what Arsenal have achieved so far this season. OK, nothing's won, but they're in second place. They're going first and second here tonight. And what they're up against, the two central defenders. De Bruyne has got 100+ assists in the Premier League. And the other fella's a scoring sensation, 49 goals. So these are probably, as a combination, probably the best we maybe have ever seen in the Premier League. And this long ball here, this first ball, we're talking about contact. You either win that ball or you create a foul. And De Bruyne there's running free there, and Partey's got to pick that up. And this was happening too often. They were second best in these situations. Look, he goes in there, loses the ball. De Bruyne again, OK, he's in through again, and he hits that one. And it's a soft belly of the team, but they're playing, that's the strength now of this Man City team.
Martin, where is the leadership in there just for someone to say, right, I can't handle him at the moment. Yes. Right, Partey, come and stand on his toes. Don't let that one ball beat us all and go into his chest so he can dominate us.
Yes, but that's against the philosophy. Approach. That's against the philosophy of the manager because he wants to press and Partey's up the pitch. Yeah, they're not sitting deep to deal with
his
those.
philosophy, he had to change it from a winning philosophy. He said, we went to Emirates and we won. I wasn't happy. I had to change something. Mikel Arteta's faced Pep 3 times this season, 4 times or whatever, and they've lost every time.
Yeah, and
he hasn't changed.
But he's lost it trying to win it sticking with his philosophy. And I said that was the dilemma. And maybe now we look at that and see that they were really exposed at the back of the team there today because they tried to press and they weren't able to win the ball high. The long ball done them every time.
What I believe what the game's telling us tonight is that there's still a massive gap between the two sides. There's no doubt about it. I think Mikel was really brave because he wants to stick to his principles. Because if Partey is staying behind, they will create the overload and they're always going to manage to play through the line they have. He decided, and I think he was brave enough, and he said, let's go and let's put them under pressure. And they were man-to-man at the back. And when they decided to go long, and I think Mikel explained it quite really well, what he was really disappointed, and he used the word hard work and duels and commitment and to compete. And he felt the team didn't compete enough, and I completely agree with you. I think on the second ball, it wasn't enough Arsenal players around to compete for that second ball.
Well, Patrick, can I ask you a question? In regards to the outcome between Haaland and Holding and Gabriel, was you surprised by Haaland dominating them?
No.
Exactly. So why are we standing here saying he was stuck to his principles when we're not surprised that was the outcome? Surely you assessed that before the game and realised that is a threat.
I think what surprised him was how well that Man City adjusted to that and really went after them. Because in the FA Cup game here, Arsenal lost 1-0. They did that really well. It worked for them that day. OK, they lost.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the same gulf that we saw today. It was, 4-1 flattered Arsenal, really. It could have been 6 or 7 in that first half. And that's the most worrying thing for Arteta this evening.
Arsenal went man-to-man at the back in that area a lot of the times and couldn't compete. And I think sometimes in-game management in them situations, not just from the manager, from players, sometimes you've got to be humble enough to go, listen, I need some bodies around me, get that to the touchline, speak to the manager, even at half-time, and go, listen, we at the moment it's just not going our way. We need a few more bodies around us, build some confidence, maybe go back to that again. And them tweaks in-game can happen. Today it didn't happen, but sometimes when occasions like this, and also, it can be a whirlwind and take the game away from you so quickly, and I think that happened today with this team.
You talked about that gap, though. Even if Arsenal win their remaining 5 games, they're going to be on 90 points and potentially not win the title. Does it all just show what a formidable opponent this Man City side are?
Of course, that's just telling us that, there is City and there is the rest of the teams. I think when you look at the last couple of years, City always managed to win the league or finish second. There is a consistency on where they finish on the table, and they're still far ahead from all the other teams in the league. So there is a lot of work to be done by Arsenal and from the lack of Chelsea, the lack of Liverpool, United, to be back and to compete and try to compete a little bit more against City.
Let's talk about the treble then, because I know Rio loves it. Are City fans going to be talking about 23 the way Man United fans talk about 99? Can they win the lot?
I think you'd be stupid if you was to kind of write them off and say no. The fixtures that they've got coming up, potentially here on that table there, they could win every game. They've proved that these guys, the amount of points that they've amassed over the last few seasons, they could win every... Listen, the big one is Real Madrid, because no matter the form Real Madrid go into that game, we've seen the history they've got in in that tournament. They can pull a performance out of nowhere. They have world-class players all over the pitch and the experience to match this Manchester City team. I think that's the big one there. And obviously the Derby FA Cup final, you never know what's going to happen there. But they'll obviously be big favourites. But can they do it? Yes, they can.
You want to spoil the party?
Of course.
The Champions League, though, as Rio said, that's the games that really stand out, Jolien. But with Haaland in there and with the way this City team are defending now, how well equipped are they to win it this season?
Oh, it's their best chance. I think they're comfortable out of possession. They suffer comfortably, and they have a direct nature with Haaland as well. So yeah, in regards to their assets and their capabilities, it's a different aspect to what City was last season. But yeah, Real Madrid is the Man City domestically of the Champions League, because the history, the experience, the atmosphere at the Bernabeu, that is something that you can't replicate throughout Europe. So that is the one that Man City will be looking at to say if we get through that. I think
Patrick said it off air when we were talking. This Man City team have a confidence that no other team. It's borderline arrogance and nice arrogance, but that confidence where they walk out and expect to win football matches, no matter the pressure, no matter the situation, and that is something that none of the other teams are anywhere near at the moment.
John Stones referenced that in his interview. He said, we've been in this situation, we have the experience, we know what is needed in these big games, and they come out and execute.
And they're the really crucial period of the season where you want all the players to be at their best. And there's a lot of City players who are playing the best football at the moment. We didn't mention Grealish on the left-hand side. I think today we didn't see him a lot going offensively, but he worked really hard on this left-hand side. And those kind of performances and having those players at the top of the game will give them a really good chance to
competition
go
for places. Mahrez sitting on the bench tonight. You know, it's unbelievable. They're all at boiling point, and they're in a zone. You could see it in their eyes, couldn't you, in the tunnel when they come out? You know, they've just gone to work tonight.
Is that down to the manager, though? He sort of seems to build them up into that crescendo.
He talked earlier in the season that he was envious of Arsenal because they had that fire in their bellies. Well, it's certainly back now with City. And those trophies are there. That's what they want. They want those in the cabinet. And who's going to bet against them? They really are irresistible at the moment.
Also, the depth. I think you can't look past the depth that they have with this squad. You see, like, Walker's been out for a few weeks, comes in, nothing. There's no change. The performance, high level, 7 or 8 out of 10. Like you say, the players that are coming off the pitch, a lot of other clubs, they're not playing and they're moaning, they're upset, they're a problem in the change room, which the manager's got to manage. These guys come off, they know there's a world-class player coming in, but they know the bigger goal is to win. And it means someone else is coming in. That means I must be resting because I'm going to get another opportunity. Phil Foden, start of the season was flying, not playing, comes in, still smiling. Might not be happy, but doesn't show it. It's a real team ethic here. It's phenomenal what he's created here at the club.
He's used the fewest number of players of any team in the Premier League, but they all seem to get just enough minutes where they're all hungry and they're all just ready when they come on. Just how difficult is that to manage a squad like that?
It is really difficult, but I think the message has been clear to all the players who play for Manchester City. Is a common goal. We are together. You have to accept the decision from the manager. And Pep mentioned it quite really well when we was here. It's about the football club. The institution is bigger than the individuals. And when players understand that, then the job of the manager became a little bit more easy. But all the credit to Pep and this football club because they are building a really strong football club.
Patrick, you know, sorry, Lindsay, but Patrick, when you're a manager, is that a really, really big part of management? I know we can all talk about tactics and we've been talking about how great he is, Pep, but that managing the individuals, ones that aren't playing, ones that are playing, and just managing the ambience in the squad?
It is tough, of course, but the institution, it is something that will dictate the rules of the football club. And the players, when they understand where they are, they will follow the rules. And of course, when the gap with the door is a little bit open and players feel that there is something that they can complain about if they don't play, then it became a more difficult job for the manager. So it's not just about the coach, about how he will manage the team. It's about the football club. The message has to be clear.
If you're not putting the club first, you may be out of the door. Cancelo being the example.
Yeah, listen, I don't know what's going on in this typical situation, but it's clear when you're looking at Mahrez on the bench, who played fantastically well, scored 3 goals, and you may going to think that you're going to start the game, and the next game you're on the bench.
It's quite a message to the lads, though, isn't it? When Cancelo is, hey, you don't behave yourself. We know you're frustrated, you're not playing, but off you go. I think tonight, actually, Grealish is a really good example of a player who plays for Villa without any kind of rules, and he comes here and he doesn't really get. This is his best second season, but only now we're seeing the brilliance of his play, and running back as well to deal defensively with problems is something. It shows you that everybody has to abide by the rules or you don't play.
He's so humble, huh?
Well, as Martin said, it could be another 3 trophies by the end of the season.
We hope not, obviously, but no. But I think, listen, there's no one more deserving than him. The way he commits himself to this team, the way you can see he's committed to working hard. And when you speak to him all the time, we have him out here. We're lucky enough to get to speak to these managers. One of the common themes when he speaks is he's about work ethic, about working hard, and you see that with all of these teams that you look at. If you analyse them, we can talk about how nice they look and how pretty they are to watch. One of the staples of these teams is the work ethic and how much they put teams under pressure, high up the pitch, demanding these flair players even to be part of that high press.
And how impressed have you been with the way he's changed and evolved as a manager, Patrick? Because he's gone in a way from that idealist to more of a pragmatist, talking about all the different ways that this side can win a match.
I think he mentioned it quite really well. It's the quality of the players that he had to work with. So he's looking at the opposition and with the players that he's got in charge, try to find the best way to win the game. And when you're looking at the players from De Bruyne to Akanji today was, I think, fantastic today. They managed to find a tactical side to put the opposition team into a difficult situation, and all the credit to him. He's really clever. I think it's his work ethic, his determination, and the way that he finds to manage to get the best of the players, it's something really special.
He's the driving force, isn't he? They're good players, but they need to be managed, they need to be positioned, they need to take on board the information. He's brilliant at getting that across. You've just seen successive players. Haaland took a little bit of time to gel, but now it's there. He looks like he's gone into other gears. He's just today he was like Tarzan on the pitch. I know he let his hair down in the end, but
better player with his hair down, Martin.
I think he was a better player. Now he's settled in, let his hair down a little bit. He looked even better. Well,
you've all talked about Kevin De Bruyne, a man of the match performance. Let's look at his second goal, Julian, because they were 2-0 up at half-time, and that was the one that sort of really sealed it.
Yeah, again, you'll see here a mistake from Odegaard, uncharacteristically, but Kevin De Bruyne pounces. And then look at the difference between the intent to get forward and the intent to get back, and he's clearly there, and holding there gives him too much space, gives Haaland initially too much space to make the pass. It's an easy pass, and then all of a sudden Kevin De Bruyne does what he does best, and that's pass it into the net, because for whatever reason it seems like a lack of communication and it's gone through his legs and blinded Ramsdale.
Holding's got to come up to the ball there. He's got to be more aggressive. I mean, De Bruyne, they exploited that weakness in the middle of that Arsenal team at every opportunity.
A brilliant performance from him tonight. Haaland as well this evening, and he got his goal at the end of the match, Patrick. He had really good chances all through the game. Did he deserve it when it came?
He fully deserved it. I think he had some really good chances, and that is another one. His movement around the box is quite really good, and here, of course, the really good touch from Foden and a really clinical finish, and that is his strength, his movement, and he deserved that goal.
And even in that one clip there, you see that goal comes from winning the first ball. The ball gets played up to the striker for Arsenal. The Man City player comes through, wins the ball, and that aggressive nature is the catalyst and is the foundation of this performance. And that's where Arsenal were lacking today. They didn't have that aggressive nature. They didn't win the first balls. They weren't aggressive enough. So, and you get punished. It doesn't matter what league or level you play in. If you haven't got that aggressive first contact, or you haven't got that intensity in your game, don't care how good you are talent-wise, you will not get over the line and get your 3 points. And they proved like that today.
You asked me, didn't you, what was I thinking in the tunnel? And I was thinking, if I was playing, Haaland's going to be all I'm thinking about. My first physical contact, well, he lost that battle holding. The very first challenge, that's where they concede that first goal. You've got to put your marker down. You've got to be physical, maybe take a booking, but you can't allow. Haaland was just strutting around, honestly, right at that pitch. It looked really easy for him at times, and that's something where these young Arsenal defenders are going to have to learn, and learn quickly.
Absolutely.
Well, as a professional answer, you'd expect nothing else, but you've stopped playing, so you can tell us differently. Any doubt in your mind now that they go on to win the league?
No, do you know what? I have to actually agree with what Kevin said. if you look at it from the way where I want to look at it, then you would say yes, because you can't see City not taking at least 3 points from those 2 games in hand, the way it sits right now. But for me, in general, that you've just got to focus on the next game and let the games that you win do the job that it's supposed to do, rather than saying, all right, yeah, it's ours now, because they can slip up at any time.
You haven't been nervous all night. Now they've won 4-1. You're suddenly going nervous on it. I can't work you out, Shawnee. While you settle your nerves, let's go back to the Etihad. I'm delighted to be joined live by Kyle Walker. Kyle, well done. What was that like to play in? Had some build-up. What was it like when it eventually took place?
Yeah, it's always difficult, them games. I think, obviously, the emotion, what's on the line, playing for it, but listen, we did what we needed to do, and that was get the 3 points, and I think we put a good performance in.
Yeah, and the control you had in the game, did that surprise you?
A little bit. I think the game at the Emirates was a different game to what it was today. We kind of tweaked a few things, and I thought we looked, very professional, and we did the job that was needed. It was very important. I think a lot of the lads in the dressing room have been here before, getting results when we need the results, and I think that's what's probably set us over the line, on tonight, but it's definitely not job done.
That's an interesting point. Give us an insight, because a lot of you have been in this situation before. For a game of this magnitude, you kind of know what the pressure is going to be like.
Yeah, listen, the crowd is always going to help us here. They're always going to get behind us. I mean, the reception, when you come in, it's a big game when everyone's outside doing the flares, so we just have to rise to that occasion, and the lads in the dressing room and the players that we've got in the dressing room were built for that. But again, it's not job done. It's very important that we congratulate ourselves tonight and we give ourselves a pat on the back. But we still got games remaining, and until the fat lady sings, the Premier League's not ours.
Kyle, it's Mikel Owen, well played tonight. I was just wondering, tactically today, we saw a couple of times Arsenal pressing you quite high, and Manchester City actually went long and bypassed the midfield, certainly for the first goal. Was that a particular tactic, or did that just happen? Did that just occur because of the situation?
I think it occurs, but I think when you've got the big man up front, you need to utilise him. We haven't played with a striker for the last couple of seasons. We played with a false 9, so it's been difficult when you're in a little bit of a dangerous situation. You need to kind of play your way out of it, but you need to play to people's strengths. Erling's big, he's tall, he's strong, and he's quick. So if defenders are going to leave him 1v1, isolate them and, use that to our advantage.
Well, it's Sean here. I just want to congratulate you on the performance and the result. But tactically, what did Pep say to you? Because it's been hard to keep a player like Martinelli quiet. But in today's game, he had zero effect on it.
Well, thanks, first and foremost. Thank you for the compliments. Listen, it's what I do. Defending 1v1, that's what I bring to the team. Kind of like a cornerback in the NFL, where, you're just sweeping up and, if I can't come against the best, I probably shouldn't be in the best team. So I need, these are the games that I relish. These are the games that I want to be involved in. And it's just something that I can bring to the team.
Very well played tonight, Kyle. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
That is Kyle Walker live at the Etihad Stadium for you after Manchester City have beaten Arsenal 4-1. The other side of the story, of course, is the heavy defeat and the implications for Arsenal. Here is their skipper, Martin Ødegaard.
Martin, it's been a very tough evening here. You never really reached the level required. Why was that?
No, I don't know why. But yeah, as you said, they were the better team. We didn't play on our level. And yeah, I think they were a lot better than us in many areas of the game. So it's disappointing. I don't have a good answer to say why, but today was like this.
You're chasing the game from the start. That sort of dents confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they get the game where they want with the early goal there, and yeah, when they get the second one as well just before halftime, it makes it all difficult. So yeah, definitely.
City seem to be going more direct tonight. They seem to be going across above your press.
Yeah, I think they can do different things now. With Erling up front, they can go more direct, and they're dangerous there as well. So yeah, it's difficult to defend. They can play from the back and they can go direct as well. So it's difficult to defend, but I think anyway we should do better. We should win more duels, compete better, and yeah, when we have the ball, we should do more as well. So yeah.
On such a big game, you must be pretty downcast in that dressing room tonight.
Yeah, I think everyone is down now, of course. We wanted to come here and get something. Also, the last 3 games before this one wasn't the best for us. So yeah, we just have to stick together and keep pushing and keep going.
5 games to go. It's still possible.
Yeah, everything is possible. You know, I think everyone disappointed now. Everyone really down at the moment. But as I said, we have to keep going. We have to stick together. In football, anything can happen. So we have to do our part, and then we have to see.
Are you able to pinpoint why they weren't at their normal levels tonight?
I just think City were too good. You know, sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say, yeah, we were beaten by the better team. We weren't just beaten, they were well beaten. And like I said earlier, they had a lot more chances. You know, and it was just a shame, you know, it's such a big game. And I just wanted Arsenal to put up a bit more of a fight. But even with City, you know, they even changed their tactics by the sound of it. You know, Arsenal were pressing, so they went long. And they were even brilliant at the long ball. Never mind just the short ball.
I know we said before the game that Arsenal have got a pretty fit squad at the moment, but one player was missing today, and that was possibly their most important player for this game, Saliba. If he was playing against Haaland, we might have seen him controlled a little bit better. That was a massive miss, I felt tonight, and one that Arsenal couldn't afford. But, you know, that was a total mismatch in the end, him against Holding. And I think if Mikel Arteta had him fit, then I'm not saying it would have been a different result, but he would have kept him a lot quieter. I think so.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know, he's been a big miss. It's just so frustrating that, you know, the last 4 games now, you know, Arsenal haven't really shown what they're about. You know, there's not been a good representation of the rest of the season. But it's really important now that they pick themselves up and then go again against Chelsea. You know, because we don't want it to just fizzle out, because it's been such a great achievement all the way through.
Yeah, and both Martin Odegaard and indeed Kyle Walker mentioned the remaining games there. Kyle Walker quick to point out the fact that it's not done. Pat on the back and they go again. But as I say, they play again next. So they'll be top of the league if they win Fulham for the first time since February with 3 points at Craven Cottage. League games-wise, West Ham, Leeds, Everton, Chelsea, Brighton, Brentford. I'll ask you again. When you look at that list of games, is there any way you can't see City champions, Sean?
Oh. I want to say...
You're not playing anymore, Sean. You can say it. You can say it.
Pep's not listening. He's not in the studio. We're not about to go live to him.
Think of it like, realistically, as a player, like, you can't just snub away like the rest of the teams like City are just going to walk all over them. We've seen City at the beginning of the season.
Just won 7 league games in a row.
Yeah, but we've seen them at the beginning of the season against some of these teams and drop points. You go to the City ground, Forest, 0-0. So...
But none
there's
of the business
proof,
end of the season.
Yeah, but there's still proof that these results can happen. So to walk into the game thinking you're going to win, that would be City's biggest mistake. I think for preparation-wise, they have to go in there the same mind frame they came to Arsenal. Now, the next 7 games are all cup finals. And the better they are at getting themselves ready for those games like cup finals, then I would turn around and say, yeah.
OK, so the other side of the story is Arsenal have to win every game now to put the pressure back on City. Are they capable of doing that, picking themselves up with that list of fixtures?
Not on current form, they're not. But, you know, on previous form, they are capable of it. When you look at that, you know, I think the hardest game is going to be Newcastle away. You know, even Brighton at home is going to be tough. But, yeah, you know, Arsenal fans will be hoping for a really shock result when City, or maybe when City play Madrid. You know, there might be a shock result there, and then that upsets their pattern. You know, I'm just... clutching at straws here, but it's just something that might happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forget City for a minute. Back to Arsenal. Can they pick themselves up and go and win every game? Which realistically, they're going to have to, aren't they, to try and rescue this?
Yeah, they're going to have to do that. The problem with Arsenal, I think, now is that the hardest games are 2,
but, I mean, psychologically, mentally. They've just dropped 9 points in 12.
Well, they have, yeah, but, I mean, they're still a very good team. You don't turn a bad team in a matter of a week or 2. But they've got a couple of tough games coming up now. If they can win them, then they're playing sailing until the end of the season, I feel. The problem as well that they've got is that it's not only, yes, they're 2 points ahead, but 2 games in hand for Man City, but they're also now, especially after tonight, goal differences totally with Manchester City. So they need to beat them on points, not just equal them now. And City, I feel, have got an easier run in. And that, you know, they're going to overtake them by the next game, and then they're going to run clear.
Welcome back. Managers' thoughts on the way from the Etihad after that 4-1 win for Manchester City over Arsenal. After we've got the thoughts of Bakary Sagna, who, of course, played for both, and he's been with us all evening, and he's back pitchside alongside Ian.
Yes, thank you, Steve. I just want to touch on the atmosphere inside the stadium with you, Bakary. Obviously, you were here, sat with me just behind the Arsenal dugout. When we talked before the match, there was a real sense of anticipation inside this stadium. But as soon as the game kicked off, it wasn't tense, it wasn't nervy, it wasn't what you'd expect from a title decider. It just felt very comfortable. There was expectation inside this stadium more than anything else.
I think the players are used to play big games. They are used to face adversities. They are used to play under pressure. And today they just saw, as a team, they were just better. They were a different class, and from the back to the top, everyone knew what to do. They've been working a lot. You can tell whenever they play, they've been preparing the game perfectly, and they managed to score in the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So they were on the right set to play a comfortable game. They could have even scored more goals. And you just need to clap them, because they've been showing like they deserve as much as Arsenal to be champion. They've been playing as a champion, and they've been playing as a proper team. So, hat off.
Was that Manchester City then purely just setting the tone in this game for you, or do you think Arsenal will be disappointed with the way that they started the game and what they brought to the Etihad tonight as well?
You know, Arsenal conceded, I don't know, maybe 6-7 goals in the last games. So when you start after 5 minutes conceding a goal, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to keep going, to keep the head up, and to face these type of players, because technically they are at the top of the game. The pace, the understanding, and also the fighting spirit, because as soon as they lose the ball, they put pressure on Arsenal. And I'm a bit disappointed with Arsenal. They didn't even shoot once, I think, maybe once.
The first shot on target was a goal, I think, yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult. They need to bring a bit more consistency. They need to play out the game, you know, deal with the pressure and come here, and they should have played a bit more. Now the game is gone. They still need to focus. It's still a fantastic team, still fantastic players, and they still need to keep the head up, because they have more games coming.
I spoke to Aaron Ramsdale in the tunnel a short time ago, and the Arsenal players as well doing their interviews. That the sense was the same. They're extremely flat after this result. They still have a 2-point lead. There's 2 games in hand, of course. Do you give them any hope?
Still, I want to believe they can react. I want to believe they can maybe finish well the season, but it's not up to them anymore. This is the problem.
Yeah.
Before the game, they still have a chance, because they were to decide what's the end of season is going to look like. Manchester City has a lead now, and Manchester City won't drop points because the way they play tonight, and I know the coach will be right behind them to push them.
Yeah, he certainly will. The handy thing about having Bakary here pitchside at the Etihad is that he's managed to speak to quite a few of the players, including the match winner Kevin De Bruyne as he came off the pitch. What did Kevin have to say to you about that 90 minutes? Because he was absolutely incredible. He decided this game, didn't he?
I congratulate him for his match, and also for the player he is, because he's a fantastic player, and I'm just admirative for his quality. And also he asked me to send some sun over Manchester, because it's a bit chilly. So
yeah, that's one thing that Kevin De Bruyne can't influence in Manchester is the weather, but he influenced everything else here tonight, certainly. Bakary, thank you so much for being with us here at the Etihad Stadium. Yeah, a very important result that from Manchester City, and De Bruyne had his fingerprints all over it.
Yep, back in Manchester City's hands, and after that goal, they've all been talking about just 7 minutes in from the man he was talking about, Kevin De Bruyne. City had their hands all over this game. And as we mentioned before, Sean, Haaland to De Bruyne for the first time in the Premier League.
Yes, and his first touch for me was amazing, to hold him off and to put the ball where he wanted it, and then put Kevin through. But then Gabriel gives him too much room on the outside, and once he's through there, Kevin De Bruyne has too many options, and he chooses to slide it around the goalkeeper, and it's a fantastic finish. But Mo isolated a lot of things when he broke it down at half-time. Holding's got to foul him there, knowing that somebody's behind him. And then once he does get through it, I don't really get what Gabriel's doing, because he just runs across. He doesn't actually affect Kevin De Bruyne in any way. That just gives him the space and says, here, have a go.
You've got to put some pressure on him, you know, especially on the guy with the ball. You've got to make a tackle. You know, whether, like what Mo said, whether it's a tackle or a foul. You know, you're in trouble there, and you've got to make a decision. And we didn't make a decision there. You know, we just backed off and let him shoot. And with De Bruyne, he can go either way, and that's why he ends up putting it right in the corner.
And ultimately, despite Arsenal holding out, the timing of this goal, David, really was crucial.
Yeah, it was, you know, and he was a big blow because, you know, getting in at half-time 1-0, you're pretty happy with that, you know, especially with what you've gone through. You know, Aaron's made a lot of saves in that first half. And this is just offside, you know. We see Ben White getting a little nudge on him. I think that's what just takes him to play the guy onside. And like I say, it's a fantastic ball and it's a brilliant header, you know, back across the goalkeeper, and Aaron's got no chance.
And then in the second half, Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland linking again.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most potent partnership in the Premier League, isn't it? Very rarely it's that way round, though, isn't it? Haaland to De Bruyne. I do feel, though, just a little bit like the first goal, Steve, that, you know, when you've got two players against a centre-forward, one of them's got to be engaged, one of them's got to get close and be very, very aggressive, whichever one it is, because you've always got your mate to cover you. And if that means you've got a risk of foul, then so be it, and get everybody back behind the ball and recover and start again. But every time it was almost easy for Haaland to pick the ball up, turn and run. De Bruyne pick the ball up, turn and run. And you cannot let quality players like that do it. And they punish them. Of course they punish them. They're great players. And Arsenal were pretty much, you know, masters of their own downfall in that situation. Holding had a tough night against Haaland, of course, and this fella, well, what more is to be said about him and his assists and his goals?
Yeah, well, he's got 8 in his career against Arsenal. That's more than any other team, and he's gone past Sean's former teammate Yaya Toure in the all-time Premier League list for goals for Manchester City, up to 64. He did well to catch Raheem Sterling or Sergio Aguero, but that is some goal total as well as the assists from Kevin De Bruyne. And then we saw Erling Haaland. Well, he had the hump, didn't he? Because he hadn't scored. Then the hair came out, and then suddenly it was in the back of the net.
And a great touch from Phil Foden. It gets a little bit lucky with the deflection around, and when it gets to Haaland, you know he's just going to shoot. But if you see it closely, he almost doesn't hit it as clean as you think or expect him to, but I think that's what helps him take it in, the bounce. That it bounces early, the second bounce then goes underneath the keeper's hand. But what amazes me about him is that he doesn't care whether he misses. He believes and understands that he's going to have one more chance, and he's always seems to be ready for that one more chance. And I never honestly thought he was going to score this game, although he had a good game all around, but the man knows himself, doesn't he?
And there you go, 33 Premier League games in, of course, this season that's still got 7 games to run. Alan Shearer and Andy Cole's record of 34 was in a 42-game season. He's going to absolutely smash that as well. We talked long and hard about him before the game. You were really worried about Holding and Gabriel, and you were right to be when you look back.
Yeah, as I say, Holding in particular, I thought it was a total mismatch, and I would have been grabbing all kinds of help that I could. I mean, I mentioned this at half-time. Again, I just think he's got to be so much more aggressive. You know, bring him down, foul him, jump into his back, do anything. But you cannot let him bring the ball down so simply and turn and lay it off to someone like De Bruyne. And again here, big mistake. Either stay back, don't vacate that big hole, or if you're going to go, take the lot, including the ball. They got away with this one eventually, but again, another big mistake. He was just too big and too strong and too quick for him in every way, shape or form. Again, you know, Haaland showed all his attributes today. You know, in a tight situation, sometimes like that occasion, Arsenal played a bit of a high line. He had room to run in, and then in the box as well, he got his goal in the end. But it was just wave after wave, and I felt sorry for Holding in a way. He was left exposed, and he's playing against one of the best players on the planet. You know, that was a great effort. I thought that was in. The net was about to bulge, but here again, be aggressive. You know, bring him down or do something. But that's just a straight ball. I thought Haaland should have lifted that, by the way, but I'm not going to tell him how to finish. He's about to break every record there is, and this was probably the one that he scuffed the most, lads.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah,
the one that went in.
Tough night for the Arsenal defender.
It was a tough night. It was a tough night for everyone, I thought. You know, it's you know, when you get dominated like that, you know, and then when you find out that Manchester United even changed their style of play, you know, we heard De Bruyne talking about you know, they were supposed to be playing it short passes and trying to get in and around Arsenal. They ended up going long and making that work brilliantly. And I just felt that Arsenal were left 1v1 at the back way too many times.
His frustration there about the basics and individual duels.
Yeah, it is. That is the basics. But you know, he can also see that, you know, the gap between us and Man City is what we saw tonight. But like what Mikel says, you know, don't get away from what we have achieved. You know, we can still try and influence something within these next 5 games. You know, like make sure that we get back on track, try and win as many games as possible, and just see what happens.
Position MRBEAR. Alors que se passe-t-il? Le buteur Hakim Ziyech est resté au sol.